Welcome to the joint meeting between the Village of Johnson City Trustees and Binghamton City Council regarding the joint sewage treatment plant. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's start with the roll call. That's good.
Okay. Councilman Scringy is absent due to military leave. Councilman Livingston.
Present.
Councilman Dunn.
Present.
Councilman Taylor.
Present.
Councilman Pastrana.
Present.
Councilman Motso is here. President Scanlon.
Present.
So that's two missing for Binghamton, Motso and Scringy. And for Johnson City, Mayor Davey.
Here.
Trustee Neal. Absent here. Trustee Walker.
Here.
Trustee Williams.
Here.
And Trustee Gill is not here yet. So that's two missing, Meany and Gill.
Charlie, let's start with the three positions that Councilman Papastrat has brought up that we wanted you to eliminate on funds.
I'd like to turn this over to Ed Crum and George Caldwell, who have a response to it.
Stuff flying through the air. Sorry, I just trying to expedite it because I know they have another meeting at 5:30.
Oh, we're good now, right? Councilman
The
Motso.
record shows not
Let's bring it up here.
502.
Pull her up. I'll pull one right up.
I just asked about three positions that Councilman Papastrat has to eliminate. Okay. And then Crum and George Caldwell. You want to explain what we're looking at here?
Okay, what I passed out back in 2006, Stearns and Wheeler, which is a predecessor of DHD, was commissioned to do a staffing study for the new BAF. Superintendent Young, before she retired, had asked about staffing for the new plant, and GHD said, go by the Stearns and Wheeler study. We consider that still accurate. So we want to use that as a baseline for this presentation this evening. So in the left-hand column, that shows how Stearns and Wheeler had a grand total of 48 positions in this study to run a biological aeration filtration plant in this configuration with the combined sewers. And the next set of columns over is what the civil service approved staffing for the joint sewage treatment plant is in 2019. There's 45 sleeves as we understand it. And then there's a gray line, and to the right of the gray line is the 2019 adopted budget and the positions that are in there, which include three positions that are already non-funded. And then we give you a breakdown based on my understanding of what's filled and vacant, which as a board member, I may not be exactly right, but I think I'm within one position on that. And then the right-hand side on the other side of the gray line is the 2020 proposed budget. So we wanted to give you that comparison. It's broken down by the blue section at the top, which is management and administration, the green section, which is operations, the red section, which is the electrical and instrumentation, and the orange section, which is maintenance.
Chris, what was on the committee?
We haven't been able to get a board meeting together to come up with a recommendation of the board because we have one member who is out of town and another member who is unavailable. And there's a vacancy on the board, so we couldn't get a quorum in order to have a meeting since last Wednesday.
Who was on the board with you, on the committee?
The selection committee?
Yeah, who else? Mayor Beebe was on there?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And what they come up with as far as number of workers, the proposed bidders? You know what those numbers were? To run the plant?
The numbers they came up with at the time was, I think
It was well under these numbers, put it that way. It was nowhere near the number they're talking about here.
The last I heard, they had a number of 36 in there. How does anybody know how a plant's gonna run when it hasn't run yet? That is the main concern.
Well, we agree with that scenario. That's why when you suggest these numbers, we don't know if we need that many also. So my suggestion was that we cut 3 positions.
Unfund 3 positions.
Excuse me, let me use correct language. That we unfund 3 positions, and if, once the plant opens up and those positions we find are needed, we just can fund them at that point.
No,
But
I didn't hear that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
that was the conversation.
Well,
And I think we left here as a group, the trustees and the councilmen, realizing you guys were going to cut 3 positions, finding 3 to cut. I don't know if we're going to get into a debate about this now. I mean, I think it was a general consensus from the board here that we wanted you to eliminate 3 positions.
That aren't funded.
Unfunded. I keep saying eliminate,
Right.
unfunded.
Unfunded that are not filled.
Okay, so let's put it this way. The only repercussion I can see there, if you have the unfunded, then you've got to go look for them. How long does it take you to go through the training process and that stuff? How long does it take you to go through the civil service examination and be able to pick up? Do you lose 6 months? That's all we're saying.
George, do you have candidates to fill the vacant positions now that you have?
No, we were sort of turning around and sort of waiting for the budget to go through and then to see and select and say, hey, we think we got to train one. When Kathy was still here, she was asking for 2. Okay, 2 more mechanics and that stuff. She's no longer here, so that issue has dropped. But she did send out an application for him, thinking this is what she was going to need. So that's where I'm at.
Ed, I've got a question. So you mentioned the Stearns and Wheeler study. Is that
Correct.
So that's what the proposed budget staffing was based on? Or you're saying that, tell me more about this Stearns and Wheeler study.
The Stearns and Wheeler study, and Stearns and Wheeler is a predecessor of GHD, which is the engineer for our current restoration and rehabilitation design. They did this study back in 2006, October 2006. I have a copy of it here. If anybody wants a copy, I can email it. Email it to your clerk, and your clerks can mail it out to everybody, or whatever however you want to proceed on that. It's 90.
That's 13.
I think it's 94 pages. Some pages are blank. It's two-sided studies. They went through a very detailed analysis on the requirements to run a sustainable wastewater treatment plant with combined sewers, and they did a comparison to some other locales, and they came up with the recommendation that you see in the left-hand column, which is for a total organization of 48 full-time positions. We haven't run it that staffing, obviously, during the construction, because we've tried, as we've told you before, we've tried to keep positions unfilled that were not operationally required for the configuration of the plant when it was in a bypass pumping mode. It wasn't taking the full flows, as I mentioned to you in the last meeting on Wednesday. There's going to be 1.2 to 1.4 billion gallons of wastewater, which much of that is combined sewage, combined sewer water, that's going to be going through the plant as of January 1st, 2019.
I just want to stay on track, because we do have more that we want to get to. We don't want to belabor this too long. But I'm curious to know, because this is a pretty old study, it's 13 years old. The plant management and the board members here tonight, do you agree with GHD in their assessment that the study is still relevant?
13 years is a long time.
And that was the old plant at the time. This is a new facility.
I understand that. That's what we have to go by.
All right.
You know, to come up with.
Let's ask this question. I mean, Craig, we asked you to come up with the 3 possible unfunded positions. Were you able to do, what 3 were you looking at unfunding?
That's more up to the board to decide on.
All right.
Well, we kind of left it in your hands saying which 3 are the least needed that you could unfund at this time. I know they're all needed, I understand that.
That's really the problem.
But there's got to be 3 out of those 6 that fall, you know, if you're rating them 1 through 6, the 4, 5, and 6, you know what I'm trying to add. I mean, that's what we were looking for
That's what we're looking
to
for.
come back with tonight.
Yep.
So in other words, you haven't made that decision.
We didn't get a quorum, we couldn't make it.
All right.
We can make that for you by taking those 3 least paid employees off the bottom. I mean, that would make sense to move this forward.
All right, so what are those positions? The three, what were you saying? 3 what?
The 3 least paid people.
I mean, that
3
seems kind of arbitrary, though. Just
Well, we have to move forward with
Why do we
something.
have to cut 3 of
Because
them?
we agreed, and we can take a vote on this if you want to, Dan. But, you know, we'll make a vote as a group here. We want them to do that, and then we can do it.
It just seems like if we're picking 3 essentially at random, I mean, obviously.
We're asking them to pick.
All right.
Yeah, I
We're
get
asking
that, but, yeah, you know.
Do you have any that you want to pick?
You have a suggestion? Other than that?
Well, the plant is incredibly complex, and the startup process is, from what I understand, I guess.
Right. And everyone that's
squirrely.
working, everyone that's there is still there. We're talking about 3 unfilled positions
They're not there.
out of 6 that aren't there, that we want to see if the plant will operate without the 3 unfilled positions at this point, out of the, actually 9 positions.
So we're
So
not
we're
aiming for a
cutting-
dollar amount to cut. We're aiming for we just want to
Well,
cut
3 positions equal to dollar amount.
We have to
Right,
pick
but
3 people.
But you just said the 3 lowest paid.
Yeah, let's throw out a suggestion.
Sure.
Try to help it along here. That's what I'm doing.
It just okay. It just seems kind of arbitrary.
You have one that you want to add to that list? I mean, do you want to cut an unfilled position that's like an operator or something like that?
I mean, I'm more interested in knowing if we're going to be cutting staff people, what the potential cost of that is. You know,
We're not
because-
cutting staff people. We're cutting unfilled positions.
Sorry, but it was inaccurate. What I meant to say was, you know, by not funding 3 positions that are slated to come online in anticipation of the startup of the plant, you know, we're going to be disrupting the process that they thought they needed to have in place in order to do that startup. So what I'm saying is there's probably a cost associated with that. It's not just we're saving money because we're not paying staff. If they don't have enough, you know, electricians.
According to the study that they've got, Dan, they really don't know if they need them. That study is 13 years old. It's from the old plant.
2006.
That's from 2006.
That's why I was
That's
asking
why
for
it's
an
not a bad
study.
thing.
I'm
That's
not
why it's
saying
not a
that
bad thing to cut it.
I'm not saying that I agree
And
with
if it
the
works,
study.
great. If it
Right.
doesn't,
We came to a consensus last time
We did.
that
Yes,
we're going
we
to
did.
cut 3 positions.
And that's what I want.
3
that's-
positions.
That's what I want.
Agreed on
Well, wasn't
that.
it-
I'll get you-
All right, listen,
We're
excuse me, hold on a second. Lee, take a vote, please, of the village trustees here and the city council. Who agrees to cut unfund 3 positions, please? Do a vote,
I
please.
think, do we put it that in more of a thing that we unfund them until a point where they might be needed during the budget year and replace them at that point?
That was brought up before. We can put that in the language too. I mean, that's fine, but we should have a vote right now who agrees on this board, the 2 boards, to unfunded positions, 3 of them.
Do you want to do a motion in a second?
He's looking for a straw vote right now.
yeah, is it a straw poll? Is it a motion? Is it a?
Well, I'll make
the
a motion. I'll make a motion to unfund 3 positions.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it's second, all right.
I don't think you could take a vote without knowing which 3. Like, I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable without knowing which 3 that were.
I can't get them to tell me which 3 they would unfund, so I don't know where we're going here.
Are we, we're looking at operator 3, operator 1, 2 mechanics, assistants, and electrician, instrument tech, correct? Those are the 6 positions you're looking to fill, correct? All right, operator 3 is 59,467.20. operator.
benefits.
What's that?
And benefits.
I understand, this is just starting out wages
Yeah.
to start, okay? Okay, total. Total for operator 3 is 86,841.85. All right, 30, and let's see, operator 1 is 78,452.40. Mechanics assistants, they're identical, 77,226.63. Electrician is 85,146.53. And instrument tech is the same as the electrician, 85,146.53. Those are the 6 positions. Those are the total salaries with health insurance, workers' comp, retirement plan, everything figured into them. Okay? So, correct?
I don't
Okay,
agree with
well, that's the numbers I have, but it's in that rate, that's what it is, okay? So if you're talking the 3 lowest positions, you're looking around 230,000. You take the 3 highest, it's about 250,000. You remove all 6, unfund all 6, you're looking about 490,000. Okay? So it's a mixture in those numbers, a mixture of however we do this. I mean, you got 2 mechanics assistants. Can you go with just 1 mechanics assistant this time and see if we need 1 more down the road? I don't see a problem with that. You're doubling up there. Why don't you talk to the instrument tech? Wasn't there something specific about that person? Or
We only have 1.
We only have 1, so you need 2. That one I understand because of all the instrumentation that's going on and everything. It's a very busy position, so you really should have 2 there. Electrician.
1.
We have 1 right now, so, okay. Operator 3, operator 1, operator 3. Or operator 1, I mean, I know you'd like to fund them all, but.
The one about the operator position, the operator trainee, to become a 3, to test for your 3, you need 4.5 years experience. So you really want to get somebody in here to get that experience so they could get to that 3 level.
Right.
That's why you really don't want to.
Understood. That's what we're trying to figure out.
I
That's what
think
we want to know. That's
Cut
the
an
information.
operator 3 then?
What's the operator 3? I mean, how many of those do you have now at this point?
You have 3.
I've got the numbers in front of me here.
You have
Okay.
3 and 1 vacant.
This is operator 3 here, 4 at $28.59 an hour, 6 approved, but 2 positions unfunded.
Yeah.
So they've got 4 according to this.
Yeah.
And then they say, the next line over says 9/2/19 filled is 3 and vacant is 1. So those numbers don't even add up.
They don't match this.
Well,
No.
How many mechanics assistants do you have at this point?
None.
None.
Could you maybe go through the 6 positions, Craig, and the ones that are currently unfunded but you'd like to hire, and go through those positions and actually describe what their functions would be, and give us an understanding a little bit of why you think that those positions are necessary in terms of, you know, bringing this plant online, and why they maybe could not be.
Well, the operator training position, like I just said, you have to get somebody in here and start getting them trained so they can get that experience and move up into a 2 position, then eventually up into a 3 position, because it is a 3 plant. And to get to that operator 3 position, that's what we're striving for. That's what we need at the plant. We need 3s, and they're very hard to come by. We've lost 3 operator 3s to the Endicott plant, for example. There was openings there and they left, and trying to replace them, there's just not a lot of 3s out there. A lot of 3s that are out there are happy where they're at, and if they do come to our plant, they're starting as junior person and they give up all their seniority. So they kind of stay where they're at. So they're just hard to get. So that kind of breaks it down for the operators. The mechanic assistant's position is along the same lines, where we bring in a mechanic assistant and they work with a mechanic until there is a mechanic position open. And with years of working with a mechanic, then at that point, that's how they get their experience. And then when a mechanic does leave, or there is an open position, one of the mechanic's assistants would be considered for that position.
Could somebody else do the job of a mechanic's assistant? you know, I don't know much about these operators. Can an operator fill in for a mechanic's assistant if you're down one mechanic's assistant?
So you're kind of working on a class.
That runs into a
Civil
grievance.
service issue.
You're running
Sorry,
out of class.
maybe one person talking at a time.
That runs into a out of title, grievance when we would try to do something like that.
You gotta remember, they're all civil service positions.
Dan,
So-
but for one thing, you gotta realize this is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week thing, okay? So it's especially spread out. Now, the only thing that the board hasn't discussed, and when Elliot takes over for Craig when he leaves, is whether he's gonna want an assistant superintendent, because right now we got the superintendent and the assistant. And that is something we haven't discussed yet, because it's not time yet to do so, because we don't have a full board here. We won't have it for another week or so. So that's all I'm saying on that. As far as the trainees going, you don't know what you need. Nobody knows what they need. You take a crapshoot. It's your nickel. It's your dime.
The way I understand it though is we're looking to unfund these for the time being.
Right.
Okay? If we find out down the road that it's necessary and there's good proof that it's necessary, we as boards are willing to look at bringing more people on to make sure the plan's running correctly. That's how I understand it. So this is basically looking at it as a temporary unfunded, whatever. I mean, we're just looking, down the road. I mean, I'm sure we're probably gonna end up putting 1 or 2 of these people on sometime down the road. But at this point, we need to look at what we can do to,
That's right. And eventually, what's going to happen here, we want to save the ratepayers as much as we can going into this project. So this is one way. And if we don't start doing something, then the ratepayer is the person that ends up paying the bill.
We already have. The last 3 years, you got the same speech, and we turn around and we trim it, and we try to do the best as possible.
And this is what we're trying to do, is trim it just a little more. At this juncture, because it's important.
Yeah.
And we're not, and because they're unfilled, I find it that it's easy to do, because you're not affecting people's lives by trying to lay them off or do this or that. We're having positions, and I would rather do it now than in 6 months from now saying, well, we don't need these positions after you filled them, and then you have to actually take a person off there. So let's do it now.
Understand.
Let's do it now, and then we'll see what happens later.
So you're saying, right now you've got 4 operator 3s. They're hard to come by.
Yes.
How hard is it to come by an operator 1?
Well, you just offer the exam, okay, civil
Right.
service exam, and
Right.
then you hire
Hire
off
off the
there as an
exam, I
operator
understand that.
training.
What about the last time that that operator ones were hired? Like what was the turnaround time from the job posting to somebody coming online to the plant?
They don't have anybody there.
They've never had an operator one before?
No, they're zero, they're slated for 2.
Right, but they must have had it at some point.
The thing is you can't even take the civil service test unless you're qualified for that position. So coming in, they should know what they're doing.
I understand. Well, that's why I'm asking what the timeline was, because we're assuming that, we got a quick turnaround from when we realized that we need the position to when we can fill the position.
The other big question is too, is there a current list for operator 1 or not? If there isn't, then they can hire provisionally and then they give the test and hopefully take the test and pass. So they can hire immediately. But if there's a list, they gotta go off the list.
The current list for operator 1 is exhausted, and so it needs to be replenished.
So.
They have to offer another exam.
So what you would do is, as soon as you hire somebody for that position as an operator 1, that would trigger an exam through civil service. Typically, you can hire provisionally at this point. If there's no list, it's exhausted. You can hire provisionally. They have to take the test and pass the test, being the top 3 to keep their position. But since the list is exhausted, you could hire immediately for that position. And then, like I said, as soon as you send the paperwork in to civil or Binghamton or whoever does it for the plant, that would trigger a test. Then you take the test and so forth. So it'd be an immediate. That would be probably an immediate hire.
Right. Now, the reason we lost the 3 operators to the handicap plant is they paid the same amount of money. They don't have to work the 2nd or 3rd shift like they do here, and they're strictly on days over there. So that's why it became a carrot dancing in their eyeballs to turn around and have a.
Unfortunately, that's not gonna change,
No,
so.
no.
We lost another operator that was getting to the time where he could actually test for his 3, and he left for Binghamton Fire Department.
Right.
So
Damn you.
it's been tough trying to keep an
Yeah,
operator.
it's your fault. You hired him.
So, yeah, it's tough no matter how you look at it.
So I'll go down this list, say, okay, we say no operator 3 at this time, because that seems to be the toughest one. You've got 4 guys. We gave you an operator 1, be able to bring somebody new on, be able to work them up and what you need.
I'd like to keep that on there.
Okay, so, and then mechanics assistant, 1 or both, I mean, maybe get rid of one of those.
I think our thinking at this point might be to take both of the mechanics assistants if you make us do it, which is your prerogative. And then acting assistant superintendent told me he'd be comfortable not filling the assistant superintendent position.
So if you say operator 3 and 2 mechanics assistants, take those out for the time being, is that what you're saying?
No,
Assistant superintendent.
That's not.
For the
Assistant
2020 budget.
superintendent,
For
right.
the 2020 budget. The assistant superintendent and the 2 mechanics assistants.
Yeah. Well, we need it for the 20.
For the
You might need
2020
an assistant superintendent. I think Elliot would be.
He's just delegating it down lower without moving the title up to try to save.
Well,
Okay.
There can be a budget modification if, just like it's been talked here, if we find we need to fill it. That's what you said.
well, if you take the 2 mechanics, and then
Assistant-
1 more out of that list.
The mechanics assistants.
Right, 2 mechanics assistants.
Take those and
1
the
more out of
operator
that
3.
list.
That's what we're saying.
No, the operator 3 sort of sounds like the most important hard to combat position.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be the one to remove.
The one
I'd
So I
like
just
the
wanna keep the operator
operator 1. You have no list, you have no test scheduled.
You have 4 operator 3s, you wanted to bring an operator 1 on, and
You know how
work them
long
up
it
to the
takes
operator 3.
to schedule
Well, we have
a
4
test.
operator 2s that can test
That's
to
what I was
get their
asking
3.
about.
So if one of them tests to get their 3 and there's no opening, they can't move into the 3 position.
Can I ask a question? You have your operator 1, your list is exhausted right now, okay? You have no test scheduled. How long does it take to schedule a test?
That's up to the city usually. Depends
Well,
on the city.
I
or the
mean,
public.
I don't know, but we would have to ask them and tell them we need to schedule another test.
Historically, how long does it take? Does anybody know?
County-wise, it could be only once a year they test for positions. It depends on the position and when it.
So it could be 6 months down the
It
road
could be,
before they
yeah.
even schedule a test for this position.
Right.
Depends on when the state offers it.
It depends on what the state offers it, so
You
yeah.
can put it in today and you may not get it for 9 months, you might get it in.
That's what I'm saying, is you don't know when it's gonna happen.
So take that one off.
You wanna take the operator 1 off, leave the operator 3.
Yeah.
There's your 3 positions.
So operator 1 and the 2 mechanics positions, is that what we were saying?
Mechanics assistants.
Positions.
But the entire point of keeping the operator 1 on is that is a position that you want to get on quickly to train.
But there's no
people.
testing.
But there's no list and there's no
Well,
test
there's not going to
schedule.
be any tests for a very, very long time if you don't have a position funded that you can hire for.
But as Craig said, I understand his reason. He's got, did you say how many operator 2s? 4
4.
operator 2s. They could test for the operator 3 position. If there's no opening, then they can't move up. And he seems like he needs the operator 3s more than he needs the operator 1s right now. So.
Sure, I mean, and I'm not saying that doesn't make sense to
No,
me,
no,
but then you've got unfilled positions there, and you're starting to play a very, very, very dangerous game.
But we may not be the
with
only
a-
ones looking for operator 1s. If somebody else starts looking for one, there may be a list out there at some point that we can go to too.
with a plant that's that is very new and just coming online, or just newly rebuilt rather.
So you want to unfund this for 1 year and reconsider maybe
Correct.
funding it again for next
Correct,
year?
yes.
Well,
Yes.
not even 1 year. If it
Well,
deems
if it-
necessary that you need this position.
If halfway through, yeah,
then
as
we
John's
look,
saying.
we look at it.
Right, but right now, we're looking at unfunding it forward till next year, for 1 year. Correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. That's-
My
that's-
feeling,
that's what we're saying.
if I had to sacrifice 3 positions, those would be the 3. That's-
For 1 year.
Done.
For 1 year.
So
I don't want to. I don't
want
want to give up electrician. I don't want to give up instrumentation.
I
don't wanna give up
I agree with you,
operator.
I don't wanna give either one of those up either. So, I'm good with that. I'm good with those.
So what does it mean for the mechanic in terms of shift schedule? Like, do they have to work more, or are we just out of, do we just not have enough mechanic staff on throughout the entire course of a given workday if we don't have these mechanics assistants?
We still have our mechanics. It's just that, like I said, it's a way to get another mechanic brought up to speed. I mean, you usually bring in a mechanic, but they're just not familiar with the wastewater treatment equipment itself. That's where the learning curve is, getting trained on working on that type of equipment. And it just gives them a good opportunity to work side by side with a mechanic. That's how they learn. So I would have to say that if we have to get by for a year, what we have, that those are the 3 positions that, yeah, it's gonna hurt. I mean,
If we thought we could have got rid of it, because we do look at the interests of the owners, we would have done it. Really, it's in your hands now. Solely in your hands. We do what you say.
So that would be a 232,995.66. According to the numbers I have in regard to savings.
The mechanics assistant with benefits is $60,489 each.
And whatever numbers that's got, will be different than my numbers.
I'm not sure where your numbers came from.
And they came from 7.65% of the FICA, 4% for workers' comp, and
10% for retirement.
10% for retirement.
77,000.
Not 10% for retirement.
What do you have, man?
I have mechanics assistant is $46,576 for wages, $3,565 for Social Security Medicare, $3,251 for NYS retirement, and they're coming at the lowest tier. $2,097 for workers' compensation, $4,980 for health insurance based on a single plan.
And
That totals $60,489.
6489.
$60,489.
Right, 60,489. What do you got the operator one?
I don't have one for the operator. That wasn't on the list.
Charlie, you got it there? Just give them the total, don't read down.
Yeah, just give us a total.
Have it. Have it.
2666 an hour.
We have to have a number to use for the budget.
Wages would be $52,644.80.
It's gonna be in the ballpark of the 60,000.
Yeah.
Probably about 61.5 or something.
Social Security, $4,027. Retirement. I'm not sure what they're using.
What are you using for retirement, 10%? 10%, that's what Chuck uses.
For a ballpark number, that'll work.
Right.
I mean, but that may be taken off, that may be a little high because the number's like 9% under the current rate.
We don't know whether or not the guys at
I'm
2,
sure
3,
one
4,
nickel per
5.
user is
That's about $182,000, those 3 positions. Plus or minus.
Health insurance.
The health insurance, if it's a single person.
Whether he's
it'd be
married or single, I doubt.
4980.
There may be a buyout too, so.
Yeah.
Right, but that would be less.
That was 80s. So it looks like a savings of $66,827.
66, 827.
$66,827.
That makes about 180. That makes about 187,000 between the three positions.
Okay.
Plus or minus.
Well, here it is. Kansas up to 2479. Operator.
We need to make a motion on
Yeah,
that.
I'll make a motion to unfund those three positions, the 2 mechanics assistants and the
Operator one.
operator 1.
Didn't we also weren't we also talking about pulling money from the contingency? Did we actually?
Well,
did
let's
that.
do, let's
This
do
is
that.
one motion.
This is one motion right now.
Do we a second on John's motion?
Second.
All right, second. Lee, please take a vote.
I think we could just do a voice vote. If you want to do that.
It's fine if that works.
Or we can do it by name.
Let's do it by name. We're official.
Read what we're voting on, please.
So this is a motion to unfund 2 mechanic assistant positions and 1 operator 1 position. Motion made by Monto, seconded by Andy. Councilman Livingston.
Nay.
Councilwoman Crumbs.
Aye.
Councilman Taylor.
Nay.
Councilman Patrick.
Aye.
Councilman Monto.
Aye.
President Scanlon.
Aye.
Mayor Dean.
Aye.
Trustee Walker.
Aye.
Trustee Reynolds.
Nay.
So that's 3 nays, Livingston, Taylor, and Reynolds.
All right. Thank you. Let's move to the.
Hang on.
It doesn't carry because you needed 9 votes under the IMA to make a modification.
There was a majority from each group.
We haven't got modified yet.
No. The IMA requires in the budget that there be 9 votes to modify the proposed budget.
Yeah, where is
Where's our lawyer? Yeah.
You can ask Frank, he'll tell you.
Sure.
That you need 9 yeses or 9 votes?
You need 9 votes in favor of the motion to change the budget.
So basically, we need an unanimous decision.
Yeah, we would need
One
an
name
actual
vote.
consensus.
So with the way this is looking tonight, we're not going to do anything with this budget because I can guarantee you there's not.
We don't have votes to do anything tonight then.
No, and basically that means the budget passes as is because it has to pass
There
tonight.
was a $95,000 reduction for contingency from.
That's already.
Let's talk about.
We already made that though,
We
right?
made that.
We did. We
So
did.
it's already in there.
And we
Just reminding everybody.
Okay, Charlie. Also, Matt or Councilman Matzo also asked you to look at that $65,000.
Maintenance agreement.
Yes.
And we have our facility engineer present, and I would call him forward as an expert in that.
The maintenance agreements, the $65,000 in maintenance agreements. We wondered what that entailed, what that was.
So
for.
based on an old maintenance agreement for the centrifuges, it was 3 years. There was 3 centrifuges. I have the maintenance schedules here. I'm sorry I didn't print out enough for everybody. But that's what the schedule looked like. So you're getting minors and majors all year. I think calling it a maintenance agreement is a misnomer. It's a service agreement. We still do all the maintenance on it. However, when the machines are new, anytime the work needs to be actually done inside the machine, the service agreement would get the manufacturer out here within 48 hours to assist us with that, and just that maintains your warranty.
So it's like an extended warranty in a sense. Because don't we have at least a year warranty on these things?
Yes.
So this is for extended warranty on the centrifuges is what you're saying.
Essentially, yes. Yeah, it's a.
Well, the centrifuges right now, when the thing, they got a 1-year warranty.
What's that?
correct?
Right, that's what he said, so
The
this,
service isn't free. It's
No,
like
it's
the car, you still have to pay for the labor.
And I have,
parts, even though it's under
Right,
warranty.
that, yeah.
For
Since you're looking to
maintenance.
see what kind of,
And it's right there.
these are what the services are the last 2 years on, those are only half of the services on both of the newer centrifuges. So they're gonna run you about $4,000 or $5,000 a pop.
but we
Did a
were
vote
just
on
wondering,
something.
you know, it's a maintenance agreement, we're sure what
It was
they
a
were,
voice
so.
out.
I mean, in my mind, it's, that's,
It would be more
you know,
properly described service and maintenance.
better off with something like this going forward, because it's adding 2 years onto the,
Yeah.
basically adding 2 years onto the centrifuges,
Set number.
because they're gonna be expensive to fix.
Mayor, actually, what it becomes is your eyes. For things that are missed by 10 people, they come in periodically and check and say, hey, you've got a bearing
Correct.
here going and that
Right.
stuff. And it
Right.
usually saves you a lot of money before
Well,
something.
that's what I'm saying, is $65,000 is, in my mind, a drop in the bucket to fix one of these things if something goes bad.
Yep.
That we're not,
$500,000.
yeah, so,
And it's a not to exceed, so we might have to use it.
And again, that was a $66,000 based on an old contract that was for 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years, 3 years.
I
No,
don't
no,
know,
no.
at this point myself.
No.
Understand.
No.
So from what Howard's saying, I think that's something we need to.
No, I agree, I heard him,
Yeah, so.
that's very clear.
We had a couple other things we went through last time too. We talked about contingency, we did that, we had the maintenance agreements. Flood capital transfer. There was discussion on that in regards to cutting that. It was at 300,000, we were talking about cutting that back.
Where'd Charlie go, or Chuck? Chuck was gonna talk about that.
Chuck was gonna talk about that, where'd Chuck
Chuck's
go?
gone.
Oh, he's coming back now.
There, David, pick him up.
Yeah, well, that's in the file.
Yeah, the admin building too.
Yeah, I thought we did, we set that aside so that things be touched or protected.
I know we discussed it.
Yeah, no, I thought we'd move forward with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's supposed to go into.
Chuck, President
So
Scanlon
is there
said
a
you
fund for
wanted
reserve?
to, or could talk a little bit to the flood capital transfer
Yes,
part of it?
that's all reimbursable money, okay? They also have money that's already out there that we haven't received back. So we can invoice let's say 150,000, talking to their accountants, okay? I think we could do more, but their accountants wouldn't feel more comfortable with 150. That we can put as revenue that we're gonna get, 75% from federal money, 25% from the state.
So we can add 150 to the revenue line?
Yes. So it'd be 112,500 going to J 44960 and 37.5 going to J 43960.
I wish we had Ken Frank here. We should make a vote
That's
on
correct.
this.
You need nine
It
votes.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, you do need 9 votes. I remember that.
I just talked to Ken.
Yeah.
Do you know what, President Scanlon?
Yes.
So, in the board members in the past, when you received direction from the owners on whether or not you could fill positions, you abided by those, correct?
Correct.
So Mayor Daley, what I would suggest is that we inform them that they are not to fill those 3 positions. So, I mean, you guys want to, we're moving in a very positive direction where I think members of the city council and the church are trying to work with you. I think it's very disappointing that when we met last week, that we asked you to identify these positions, and you came back and you didn't do that. I thought that was very disrespectful and insulting, because that was the direction that we were going. So, Mayor Ding, I'm just speaking for myself right now. Feel free to chime in at any point in time, but my position would be you're not to do that. So if you guys want to keep the money there over the course of the year and have it not be used, instead of going back and benefiting the ratepayers, we can do that. You know,
We can do that without the 9 votes?
because
I think the mayors can.
what I'm saying
Oh, the mayors
is
can, okay.
the owners have
Yep.
we represent the owners of the plant, so if you want to keep the money there, we are going to issue a directive that it is not to be used. So they're still not going to be able to hire those 3 positions. And those of you that, you know, choose to not support this reduction are actually supporting an increase in the rates. So as long as in Johnson City and in Binghamton, you're aware of that. If you want to raise the rates, I can't stop you from going ahead and raising the rates. But that is the equivalent of the decision you just did, and they are not going to be able to fill those positions in 2020. So,
But Mr. Mayor, there's already a rate increase.
excuse me, don't interrupt me. You may want to consider that as part of this discussion. So, and Mayor Dini, I didn't.
I concur.
Okay.
I concur.
There we go.
Yep.
There you go.
Mr. Mayor, there's already a rate increase in the budget.
No, you're saying things without
Yeah.
knowing the facts, okay?
Okay?
I would not appropriate more money, allow the mayor to appropriate more money, knowing that we had money here that we could trim to reduce that to 0, okay? And that's what part of this is. As this gets reduced, it reduces the sewer funds cost. You gotta have a total understanding of how this all comes.
I'm aware of that, but I'm
No, you're
just-
not, because at the budget address, what I said was, if we all work together, we could get the rate to 0. That's what I said. And so.
Does
that's
this
what
get the rate to 0?
If
everything
was
was reduced here, it would be very close to 0, yes.
The proposed,
the proposed cuts that you're talking about right now for Binghamton sewer rates only, because it varies depending on where you live. In Binghamton, we would get it to 0.
A decrease in $150,000 of salaries and a
There are several things that was discussed at your meeting last week.
plus the $95,000 decrease.
And there are a couple
in
other items that you're
contingency.
discussing. You're very close right now. So the answer to that is yes. That 180,000.
I'd like to see
200,000.
those numbers. I mean, do you have
It's
any?
roughly 49% of what you reduced it here reduces the city's portion. That's a ballpark number.
So this would only decrease the city's portion?
No, it's gonna decrease everybody, but the city makes up 49% of the operation, okay? So we absorb 49% of the cost, okay? So every $100 that gets reduced, reduces the city's portion by $49.
So obviously, we've looked at the budget and we put together the city budget, so we know where we are and we know where we need to go. So it's your choice. I mean, if you want to raise them, then go ahead and raise them.
We all agreed that we were interested in cutting 3 positions. They didn't do their job to go over a list and even bring it to us.
It's not
So-
accurate to say that we all agreed. We didn't even have a
Yes,
vote on it.
but they didn't even do their job to even give us a list.
You didn't speak
so-
up not to cut them. You didn't speak up not to cut them.
Yeah.
I did. I asked if.
All right, let's move on then.
Wait a second. I have to correct what you said. I did ask Craig if he could come up with a comparable cut that doesn't sacrifice.
And did they? No, they didn't even look at
finish
it.
what I'm saying? I'm just trying to set the record straight. At the last meeting, I asked Craig if he could come up with a comparable cut in terms of actual dollars that doesn't sacrifice the integrity of the startup process. That didn't seem of interest to everyone else here.
No
Everyone
one
else
said that
was
this
in-
is going to, what did you say, with the startup of the plant? This would interfere with the startup of the plant? Has anyone said that it would?
Not yet.
Never heard that.
Do you think that this is gonna, is this gonna affect the startup of the plant? I mean, my understanding from what I'm hearing from members of the board and from management are that they don't know exactly how this is gonna affect things.
And why would we vote to interfere with the startup of the plant, a 250 million plus plant, over 100 and what, 160,
$80,000.
$180,000? Why would we ever do that?
Well, I just don't have clarity on whether it's not gonna do that. It seems like
The positions don't exist as it is.
They're not filled.
They're not filled. They're not there.
Right,
Even
but
when
the
they
plant
start.
isn't fully
But
online
when the
yet.
plant starts, they're still not gonna be filled.
They're not going to be filled.
They're not gonna be
They're
filled
not
when
going.
the
They're not
plant
going to give a
starts.
test out.
All we're doing
with
is
by the time this
unfunding
plant's
those
online.
unfulfilled positions. We're just unfunding them, that's all we're doing. They're not filled anyway.
And they're
There's
not
not
going to
gonna be a
by the
test.
This is
startup.
money that we're setting aside extra that our taxpayers now have to pay.
When are these positions slated to
We
be
discussed
filled?
that
And-
already.
We
Not
just
for
discussed
another
that.
year. After it'll
There's no test being given. The state decides when the tests come out.
So we're just paying for nothing. We're just reserving money in there that the
If there's
taxpayers
nobody
have
on
to
the
pay.
list,
And no test scheduled. It's
No.
gonna be at least 6 months before the test is given.
No,
They're
it's gonna be
halfway through the year.
at least, minimum.
Which would
Well,
be more
thing
than
is,
enough time
they
for
give
us
the
to-
test, then you don't get the results for what, 2-3 months? Maybe
Yeah.
4 months or longer before you can see the results.
what about the mechanics assistants? We're
Same.
talking about the operator ones.
No, that was the
list for
mechanic assistant.
So the
The
list for the
operator one,
mechanics
that was the
assistants.
operator one.
The list for the mechanics
That was the
assistants,
operator
is
one.
there, are there people on the list for mechanics assistants?
I don't know if that list is still active. I have to look.
But see, that's the thing.
Why
We
don't
asked
you have
them
answers
go
to
over
this
it.
stuff?
We asked them to go over it.
I'm just asking that
It's
question.
frustrating that
We
they-
don't know. It seems like being supervisor of the plant or somebody here should know. I run a business, I know what I need to do.
Back when
And we're just coming.
we were gonna fill these positions, we didn't wanna fill them because of contract looming in the air. So it's been quite a while since we looked at those.
And on Craig's behalf, I mean.
I don't wanna hire somebody and have to let them go.
I understand that.
On Craig's behalf, Councilman, not to, take sides here, but even in my position, I don't know which lists are good or not in the village itself either in regards to all the positions there. I always have to call civil service and say, is there a current list for this
All
or
right,
not?
now I understand. Now you have to call
So
someone.
it's got a process you have to
All
go
right.
through because there's so many of them, you never know if their list is good or bad or if they even have one. So it's
Okay,
a
now I
tough
understand, and I
position
apologize
to be
for that.
so to do that.
All right.
Well, we'll get back to the person. I had a question. The retiree, I haven't gone through this. Retirees' health insurance is jumping up quite a bit. Is there any proposed reason for that? Because I believe, how does the city do on that this year? Retirees' health insurance?
The above 60, the drop for the above 65.
65, right.
Went up slightly for 55 to 65.
Do they do the Medicare Advantage plan at all for the over 65?
If they're over 60, if they're 65 or older or disabled.
They have the Medicare Advantage plan like we do in the village. Okay.
So you must have a
They
lot.
jumped up quite a bit.
You must have a lot that are under 65.
Yeah.
We're a young plant. That gives you a better working account.
Okay, George.
I mean, are you gonna, you've almost 90,000 spent yet, but is that gonna be gone by the end of the year?
That is a quarterly invoice we get. That's a quarterly
Trying to save
invoice.
where I can. Overall, it's a tough budget, and I understand that. We've cut it over the years, and we've gotten to a point where, it's tough to find spots here and there, but
We're doing the best we can.
Well, there's a lot of unknowns in this budget too.
that's the problem, too, understood. What are you looking at for inventory? Is it gonna be spent by the end of the year, or?
I believe so, yeah.
90,000?
According to Bill, we're still reading in the last.
Yeah, I don't.
Just,
It's
like I said, it was a jump, about $50,000 jump.
We raised the question last meeting too about moving an office from,
Right. I was gonna bring it up.
Hillside.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, bring it up.
Yeah, but on that hillside office, we get reimbursed from FEMA by having it over there. You bring it over to our plant, you're not gonna get reimbursed, so why would you want another
so are we getting a total reimbursement for
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a question.
Yeah, because last time it was only 75% that we heard.
Charlie, how much was the increase in the electricity budget from the 2018 to the 2019 budget?
18 to 19.
I remember it being very, very significant
Substantial, yes.
because we, at that time, thought that the plant was going to be coming online.
If you're looking at 18 actual, yeah, when we did the 19 budget, we thought there was gonna be a lot more online. So the 19 budget isn't that much different than the 2020 budget, but when you look at the actuals, there's a significant increase because we're gonna be running pumps that haven't been run for 13 years. We're gonna be running a lot more electricity.
Right, but that was accounted for, correct me if I'm wrong, when we made that massive increase from 18 to 19. Right, what was 18, like 600,000 or something like that?
Yeah, the actual, yeah.
Yeah, so
And they only spent 223.
Right, so I'll state my position on the unfunded positions. Based on history, a lot of decisions in terms of unfunding or funding positions, that could be very dangerous in my opinion, especially an operator position, for example, when you're talking about bringing a new plant online. That would be like the first thing I really wouldn't do.
Yeah, did you see how many operators there are?
It's a new and it's a very big plant. So if we're looking to save money, and what was at the tip of my tongue at the last meeting, and that I'll sort of put out to council, because obviously I want to see those rates as low as possible, would be to look at the electricity line, because that line was increased dramatically from 2018 to 2019, with the idea that by March of 2019, this plant would be up and running fully. So a $200,000 increase in the electricity line might not be warranted for the 2020 budget. So I'd make a motion to decrease the electricity line by at least $100,000, to save $100,000 here and now, instead of removing, or unfunding these positions. Because it sounds like, to me, it would be a lot more dangerous to have these unfunded positions and then make a much, much longer process in terms of funding these positions and then hiring them than it would be to just transfer more money into the electricity line. That's something that can be done like that.
Well, I'll agree with you to cut the electricity line as a added bonus to the cuts.
Okay.
So is that a second?
Before we do that, before we look at this, in 2009, we budgeted $1 million, back when we were running a system with blowers and pumps to this level, and $1.2 million in 2010. So we're returning. We're not just guessing. We're returning to a plant that was within 5 million gallons and daily. So it's not that widely.
But would you say maybe?
I like the idea though with electricity. If we have savings in other lines, we could fund that a lot easier than trying to do.
That's my thinking. That would be a lot. It would be a lot of a safer transfer of money.
Next September and.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but technology in 2019 is significantly more energy efficient. Also, we have solar panels. I know that doesn't do much. I will not possibly.
We're new into the
correct. That's not the crux of my argument here.
But electricity is cheaper than it was.
Sure.
Well, that's we got NYSEG going for a 25%, 24% increase.
I'm sure Mayor Dan will stop that.
Good thing our clever management got us into the New York Energy Co-op.
Right.
So we're getting good deals.
And that's great, and you are commended for doing that. So it seems to me that we all, at the end of the day here, we want to save money for the ratepayers. I certainly have the same desire, but I don't want to risk anything, in terms of making a much more expensive mistake down the road. So what seems safer to me is taking that money that we want to cut out of the electricity line, because just 2 years ago that line was $600,000. Now we're looking at that
Cut
one.
$100,000. I would second cutting $100,000.
All right.
Let's do a vote, please.
All right. Councilman Scaringi?
Yep.
He's just testing us.
Councilman Lewis?
Aye.
Councilman Bruns?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Councilman Patrick?
Aye.
Councilman Monto?
Aye.
President Scanlon?
Aye.
Mayor Dini?
Aye.
Trustee Walker?
Aye.
And Trustee Reynolds?
Aye.
So that's 9 yeas. Next.
Back to the retirees' health insurance. You said you saved some money on the over 65s this year. Chuck, you guys,
Yeah, we saved, ours went from $750,000, went like from $425 down to $205. And at the end of 2018, reflected in the 2020 budget, it was like $750,000 for the city.
how did the
Pounded on.
just pounded down? Okay, you guys need to Round down.
Chuck, where are we at? What's the
I
score
haven't
right
been
now?
keeping track of that.
What's
I
that?
haven't been keeping track. but
Oh, well, I mean,
It's like
like.
$500,000.
Okay.
Other questions people want to bring up on the budget?
Does anyone want to reconsider their vote? The three that
Councilman
voted
Livingston,
nay.
you want to reconsider your vote?
Anyone want to reconsider before we
Before we close this up, yeah.
We're gonna close this up.
No, that more information.
I'd like to go into executive session. Motion to take and discuss, how do I put that in? Personnel matters.
I'll second that.
So moved.
Who's,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?